Hey, we are back here at Sweep the League. It's Stats, it's Rudy Campos. And we just came off of the NFL draft. We're going to get into some draft talk. Also, quick mention about some of the events we're going to be covering as well coming up here in the month of May. And one thing we failed to mention in the last episode, Stats, is the NBA playoffs. It's like I'm excited for the playoffs, but I'm not excited for the playoffs. I catch myself not really wanting to watch a lot of them. So, got a quick thing on that, what I want to talk to you about because it kind of bothered me a little bit as to why I'm not in the playoffs. But nonetheless, this is Sweep the League. We are back. And I want to dive right into it, man. Before I even ask how you're doing here, why does it feel like the NBA playoffs to me feels like MLB, where I don't really give a shit until the last like four teams are left? Is that the only like is that the vibe that you get? Because that's the kind of the vibe I have. I'm like, the playoffs are going on. It's okay. It's okay. I don't find myself watching them like I do year in, year out.
Yeah, I can hear you, man. I can understand that. I mean, with me, I'm not a huge baseball fan, but whenever the World Series rolls around, I'll usually end up watching like a few of those games, and they're fun. They're fun, they're exciting. So I can understand not being as invested in the NBA playoffs, especially those early rounds and the play-in tournament and such. To me, the play-in tournament's kind of a consolation prize. I mean, I get it. They want to get more teams involved, get more revenue, get more fans invested in, like their team potentially making it in. But I honestly don't really care about the play-in tournament. But the first round can be pretty interesting. One of the best stories in the NBA right now is the Miami Heat. They eliminated the number one seeded Milwaukee Bucks. Now they
Yeah.
did get some help. They did get some big help with Giannis not playing in like three of those games. But still, an 8 seed beat a 1 seed. And with what Eric Spoelstra, we've talked about Coach Spoelstra before
Yeah.
on this podcast, but this is a testament to how good of a coach he is and how good of a culture they have over there. We've praised the Miami Heat on this podcast before, but we can't say it enough. They are one of the premier locker rooms, premier organizations in terms of leadership and management that we have in the NBA right now. So, we've talked about the Spurs in the past, how they have had like some of the best management, some of the best coaching in the past. I think right now the Miami Heat probably have the best organization in the NBA as far as leadership and management.
You know, I dare go on a limb here, and I will piss off everybody, but I really truly believe this. And what's funny is there's a lot of NBA analysts that I've even talked to recently that have kind of agreed to this point. I would rank Spoelstra ahead of Steve Kerr. I would rank Spoelstra ahead of a lot of coaches, with the exception of Greg Popovich. I almost put Spoels number two, dare I say. I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
my argument. And I get it. Kerr's won what, four titles? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
whatever with the Warriors. But it goes back to like he took over for Mark Jackson, who Mark Jackson originally had that team. Given if Mark would have had a couple more seasons, I think the Warriors do win a title. I think they had that squad. They were determined to win a title. But my thing is like I would rank Spoelstra ahead of Steve Kerr. I'd rank him ahead of everybody with the exception of Pop as far as coaching goes. Can that
Well,
case be made?
well, I think so, but you also have to look at the current teams right now. Like Steve Kerr, he's got Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Jordan Poole, Kevon Looney, who's playing out of his mind right now.
And Jordan Poole
Getting,
travels every time. I'm just gonna say that he travels every damn time.
yeah, I think there's another conversation we could really be having with Poole being potentially one of the most overrated players in the league.
Mhm.
But I know we'll save that for another time. But that there is definitely a case for that. Um, But going back to it, I mean, Steve Kerr's roster is loaded. I mean, I didn't even mention Draymond Green, Moody. They have a bunch of guys on that roster who are talented. And then you look at Spolstra, and it's like Jimmy Butler, Bam, and then like what? They have Kyle Lowry, but he's getting guys like Struess and Martin who were like Oh, like what was it? Miami Heat. The Heat had like a bunch of what was it? Like rookie free agents or something that they brought
Hmm.
in. And like for Spoelstra to get some of these guys to perform at the highest potential that he can get out of them is a testament to how much of an effective leader he is, in my opinion.
Hmm. Okay. Okay.
Like, I mean, you have a
I get it. And I
like,
mean, okay,
yeah,
compare the teams. Kerr's team compared to Miami's team.
Miami didn't even play Jimmy Butler in that last game against the Knicks, and they still kept it competitive.
Yeah.
It was wild. You got guys like Gabe Vincent putting up 20 burgers. Martin coming up with huge blocks and playing hard. Like Spoelstra just knows how to get these guys to play to their fullest. And guys like playing like we didn't even know they could go out there and ball like that.
He gets the most out of his players, and that's funny because we hear that from what other coach in the league? Greg Popovich.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he gets the most out of his players, and that's something that Spoelstra does. We got to have that debate one day. We got to have that because I think I'm like I said, he's got some titles under his belt, but if you take off LeBron and D Wade and the Bosch era, he still does a damn good job coaching. I mean, a really damn good job coaching with what he's given. And it's not like he's giving scraps. He's giving journeymen, and rookies, like you said, and he makes it work. He is definitely probably the second best coach in the league. And I'm gonna go to bed happy knowing that I said that, and I'm gonna stick by it, till probably the day I die. That in this era, I think Eric Spoelstra is definitely the second best coach in the league behind Pop. Nonetheless, man, yeah, I mean, the playoffs are the playoffs. I'm really not interested too much right now. I'm watching them sparingly as it is. As of this recording, Philadelphia's getting his ass kicked by Boston after beating Boston without Joel Embiid in game one. So,
James Harden's back, dude.
yeah,
Dude.
it's
Oh my gosh.
you know what? It is what it is, man. I'm waiting for, like I said, the finals. Everybody's hyped to the Lakers Warriors series. I'm not even excited about it. I can really don't give a damn about it. You know, the Knicks and Miami, it's kind of like, okay, that's cool. Boston, Philadelphia, okay. Denver, Phoenix. I mean, I see Denver just smashing Phoenix, and that's kind of what, I think is going to happen. My title pick from the beginning of the year is still alive, and I still picked them to win, and that's Denver. I mean,
Mm-hmm. They're
so
looking really good, man.
they are, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just wait till the finals come around, and if Denver doesn't make the finals, I may not watch any more NBA the rest of the year. I'm just not interested. I have no idea why. I'm just not interested in it. But one thing that we are interested in, month of May, man. So we've been covering missions baseball. You went with me the last time. I gotta ask, how was your experience for the first time covering a missions game?
Oh, it was a blast, man. It was really cool being up in the boxes and just getting on the media thing and doing helping the franchise out, man. I think that's the big thing. It feels good to contribute. Don't get me wrong, like the aura, the experience, the game day vibe, if you really feel it, especially in person, but to be able to contribute and help out like that from a media standpoint, man, it's a load of fun.
It is, man. And I told you, being in the press box is just it just has that different feel to it. And it's not because of the free foods. I can't eat any of the damn food anyway. It's all great food, but because of this damn healthy eating that I'm on, they served what? It was like enchiladas, rice, and beans. I'm like, oh my God, that's one of my weaknesses. And I just wanted to tear it up, but couldn't even do that. But yeah, we are bringing you missions coverage, missions baseball. Go out and support San Antonio Missions. I mean, great organization. They do things the right way. David Robinson's part owner, Maginoli's part owner. I mean, you've got a lot of great people backing it. Go out and find us out there, Sweep the League. Myself and Stats, as well as other people, will be out there covering the games. Also, May 20th, brother, TMB Promotions is back. May 20th at the Techport Center. All right, I got to make sure you're going that day. You got to go to that one because you weren't there at the last Techport Center fight. That's big. That's big time.
Dude, Techport's awesome. So I'm really excited to go to an actual, like boxing event. there because I think it's a great venue. So I'm pumped to see what the whole environment and everything looks like.
It was fantastic last time. The vibe was just like electrifying, as if The Rock himself, Dwayne Johnson, was there electrifying, the crowd. And it was amazing. I enjoyed it. So May 20th, we're going to be out there as well. We're going to be covering it. It'll be myself. It'll be Stats. It probably will be Rock and Shemayo. We're also going to try to get a couple more people there to provide a lot more content, a lot more stuff for TMB. We're just continuing to grow on our content. Every show that we cover for them gets better and better. We try dropping as much videos, as much content as we can. While it's going on, you're getting live updates. You're just getting everything from Sweep the League. So be sure to follow us across all social media. That's coming up in May. But the thing that finished, man, is it's freaking the NFL draft. This
Mm-hmm.
is I can't really say there was a lot of losers in this draft. There really wasn't a lot of losers. I really did like a lot of the draft classes um that were taking place this year. A lot of good grades, man. I mean, a lot of good grades. I will admit that there was a couple of teams out there, and one of them was one of my favorites, the Lions. I'm like, okay, what in the hell happened to the y'all? I'm over here thinking Lions are gonna be, big time in this, and they go out and can we say they shit the bed? I mean,
Hey, I'm glad you mentioned the Lions because I noticed some people were scratching their heads with the Gibbs pick in the first round. What were your thoughts on that?
so originally I thought, what the hell? Like, come on. Like Jamar Gibbs, I get it. Bijan Robinson is the man when it came to the running backs in this draft. He was the man. But I see them take Jamar Gibbs at 12, and I'm like, first thing that hit me is WTF. But then once I sat there and I thought about it, okay, what's up with DeAndre Swift then? And lo and behold, he gets moved to Philadelphia, which again, the Eagles just went from Super Bowl runner-ups, went to basically bridesmaids to we're pretty much going to be the bride. And we're going to get into that later here as to why. But
Scary.
seeing DeAndre Swift moved, okay, that tells me one thing. More than likely, you're not going to be able to pay DeAndre Swift. So move him now, get a good running back, get a running back like Jamar Gibbs. Now, Jamar Gibbs and DeAndre Swift, yeah, that's hand in hand there. Pretty much same player, in my opinion. So
Hmm.
you're trading DeAndre, you get Jamar Gibbs. Okay, now it makes sense. You go to 18, and I'm like, all right, they got to make a splash at 18, right? I mean, come on, it's Detroit. You got to do something at 18, and they go out and get Jack Campbell. We're talking linebacker out of Iowa. And I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, this doesn't make sense at all. You could use another receiver. Why? Jameson Williams is going to be suspended for the first 6 games. You still had guys out there like Jackson Smith and Jigba, the number one rated wide receiver in this draft class. Zay Flowers is out there. You want to get crazy? Jordan Addison was still out there. But you still got to fill that cornerback slot as well. So why are you passing up on a Deontay Banks? I mean, why they went Jack Campbell? I don't know. But here's the thing. A lot of these analysts gave that an A grade. I still don't know why. I'm trying to figure out why Detroit got an A for the Jack Campbell pick. I mean, there was so many players out there that would have made so much sense that I don't know, man. I'm dumbfounded, but nonetheless, Detroit bounced back in the second and third round, and day 3, they went balls to the wall and they put a squad together. We're talking, they got Brian Branch, one of the top rated safeties in the second round. Sam Laporta, one of the best tight ends in this draft class in the second round. Oh, you know what? Jared Goff, you've done great. You're done good. We need a quarterback of the future. They went and got one of the highly rated QBs in Hendon Hooker from Tennessee. Not only that, Broderick Martin in the third as well. Huge, huge, man. So the Lions did bounce back. It's just that Jack Campbell pick that it supposedly was like their best pick in the entire draft confused me. What were your thoughts on the Jamar Gibbs thing?
Well, again, like you said, it was a little bit head scratching until we found out that okay, they were shipping DeAndre Swift, which makes sense because, like you said, they don't want to pay DeAndre; they're going to have to end up paying him. But he also has been dealing with injury issues lately, and I could see why the Lions, and as we talked about on the podcast, just these organizations just being very hesitant about giving big contracts and like paying these running backs because of the injury bug.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, after they end up getting paid these big contracts or the extensions, something ends up happening health wise, and it just the quality of the running ends up going down. So, in hindsight, you need a back to complement. Was it David Montgomery, right? That they
Yeah,
just got? Yeah,
yeah, they picked up David Montgomery.
yeah, Gibbs to me is a good compliment to Montgomery. Have that thunder and lightning pairing. I mean, they kind of did that anyway with Swift and Jamal Williams last season. So they're continuing their little two back system here, and it'll allow Gibbs to have some experience doing his thing without having the pressure of carrying the load, since he's going to have another quality back in David Montgomery there.
Yeah, and on a draft grade, which everybody out there needs to know, I'm releasing my draft grades this week. I'm starting with the NFC East. That's already done. That's going up actually. It will go up yesterday or probably tonight or today sometime. That's going to be the first one going up. So my draft grades are going to be on our Substack, sweeptheleague.substack.com. So go and subscribe to that so you can get all the draft grades that are coming up. I'll give you a little preview on the draft grades for the NFC East, but for Detroit, it's kind of weird because I had them like at a B minus with those first two picks. Then the DeAndre Swift thing comes out. I was like, okay, I'll give him a B. Then looking at the rest of the draft, I was like, all right, A minus, B plus on the low end, A minus. That the rest of the draft just they slayed that rest of that draft for them. They made up a whole lot of ground with those picks. But again, maybe Jack Campbell is going to be that next linebacker, that is going to pose a threat, man. What did you have questions as draft wise? Because I know there's probably some stuff going through your head that is kind of like, okay, what is this? What is that? You got any teams in mind that you're thinking, all right, why did they do this? What did they do that? I'm not the draft expert. I'm not the draft guru, but I will say this: I am the draft aficionado in my household.
All right. Well, I'm glad I'm doing this podcast with the right person then, huh?
Yeah, at least in the household. Yeah, sure.
No, I believe you. I believe you. I'm gonna roll with that. But yeah, there was one pick here in this first round in particular that has a lot of people talking.
Don't do it. Don't do it. I know
I'm
you're
gonna
probably
do
gonna
it.
do it, but don't do
Yep.
it.
Yep. I'm gonna have to do it. The Indianapolis Colts,
Oh, you
fourth
did it.
overall, they go Anthony Richardson at quarterback. I want to hear your thoughts on this because I've heard people taking both sides of this. So just I got to get your insight on this one.
So Anthony Richardson, for me, and again, this is all my draft research, my draft videos, everything that I studied and everything. Anthony Richardson is the biggest project pick in the entire draft for me at QB. Now, there's one word, and I've always told everybody when it comes to NBA draft, NFL draft, or whatever, especially in the NBA. But in this case, it is based off of potential. Potential is the one word that can really, and I'm trying really hard not to cuss on the podcast anymore. But I really got to use this word because it really is strong. Potential is the one word that can fuck your team for life, or at least for a while. And that is the one thing that I'm seeing with the Colts. They're basing this the overall pick on Anthony Richardson on potential. As it is, I do not expect him to be the starter going into next year. I think Gardner Minshew or Nick Foles will probably be that guy to start. So nonetheless, if you're wasting your top pick, which is the fourth overall, on a player who's more than likely not going to start right away, what the hell are you doing? When you can go back and say, okay, rounds 3 or 4, you have a guy like Hendon Hooker there. You're going to have a guy like Jake Herner there in the 5th from Fresno State. Tanner McKee was there way late in the draft. I think like 6th, 7th round. There, there's so many guys that fit an NFL style, NFL ready system that the Colts could have got way later in the draft. So, in turn, you could have gone and got a Christian Gonzalez. You could have gone and got, hell, you want to try to move Jonathan Taylor and go get a Bijan Robinson, get Jonathan Taylor somewhere else to give him, get yourself more assets or whatever, fine. The Richardson pick was a massive head scratcher. I don't know anybody who, unless you're just a dopey Indianapolis Colts fan, that was happy about that pick. And I could be wrong. They're saying Chris Ballard and all these other guys for the Colts are like, he's the second coming of Cam Newton. Cam Newton went to 1 Super Bowl. Outside of that, Cam Newton was remembered for the scarves that he wore in his press conferences. I mean, Cam Newton was relevant for what, 3 seasons, maybe? So you're putting all of your eggs into the Anthony Richardson basket. For what? Like, really, for what? Is that a good enough answer for you there? Or do I need to go more? Because I can rant a whole lot more.
I mean, that's a pretty good answer. You're pretty yeah, this pick was definitely I guess electrifying to say the least. A lot of people were talking about this one, and again, I've heard that word potential project, but a lot of the analysts were saying that this is going to be on the coaching staff, and all the pressure is going to be on them to make this pick work, to develop him, to get him ready, because this is the kind of pick that, like you mentioned, he's got all this potential, but it could also break this team for the next couple of years if he doesn't work out.
Yeah, that's the thing, is you're breaking this team if he doesn't work out. And again, go to video, man. I mean, you got to go to video. Nothing on Florida's game film shows Anthony Richardson being a top 4 or 5 pick. Never mind the first round pick. If you want to grab him in the first round, then draft him late in the first round. There's a reason why Will Levis didn't go in the first round. And to me, Will Levis is a little bit more polished than Anthony Richardson. That should tell you a lot. I mean, the thing with Richardson is like, it is pure project, pure prospect on there, like potential. You're drafting it based off of stuff. But when I'm going back to game film, who gives a damn if he can throw 80-yard bombs, at a pro day? There's nobody rushing him. There's no defenders anywhere on the field. I can make myself look fantastic with nobody around me, nobody coming at me, nobody rushing me, and especially no cornerback, or safety on one of the receivers. I can make myself look good. Everybody can. So that's where a lot of people are getting, oh my God, he looked fantastic on his pro day. He was crisp. The ball was coming out good. He was getting it 80 yards down. He was doing this, he was doing that. I'm like, it's a freaking pro day. He's not doing it against anybody. The kid, he's a kid. It's not going to work out for the Colts. And again, I have friends that are big time Colt fans. Maybe it'll work out for them. And if it does, I'll come on the podcast and be like, hey, I was wrong. I was totally wrong. But I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't think I'm going to have to do that. The Colts in general, to me, they kind of essed the bed on the first 2 picks with Richardson, and then the second round they got Julius Brents. Where they salvaged themselves was right after that. Josh Downs probably was number 2 on my wide receiver list, like a really good number 2 on my wide receiver list. Him and Zay Flowers were definitely, 2 and 3, just, interchangeable. Blake Freeland, offensive tackle for BYU, massively needed it. They need that offensive line. And they actually got Jake Witt in the seventh round. And that was, to me, that was a really good pick. So they got two really good offensive linemen. But they nailed it everywhere else, man. I mean, Will Mallory at the tight end position, he played for Miami. Really good value there in the fifth round. I mean, they nailed it out of the park with the exception of the Richardson pick. If you're not going to start him day one, why the hell are you using that fourth pick on him? I mean, it makes no sense. So that's my take on the Richardson thing. Um, you got anything else, man? Any other questions before I kind of dive into some of these winners and losers? I mean, was there anything else you thought, well, let me ask him because he may have another, gold mic rant here or something.
Okay, I actually do, and funny enough, it has to do with both of the New York teams. So, I wanted to ask you, so the New York Jets
Okay.
offensive line ranks 24th
Yeah.
overall in the league. The New York Giants offensive line ranks 29th in the league. So they have high priority. They had high priority going into this draft.
Mhm.
Neither one of those teams went offensive linemen in the first round. Is that concerning at all for you?
Yes, but where they didn't go offensive lineman in the first round, they they smashed it in the second round. Both teams did. Now the Jets in hand, you got Aaron Rodgers. You just traded for him. You know Aaron Rodgers is not the Aaron Rodgers of old. So you've got to protect him. They got a center out of Wisconsin, Joe Tipman. Great center. He's going to be a major factor for them for a long time. But where the Jets really did fantastic, and the reason why I'm giving them, a solid like B plus, which I've given y'all a little preview of that. B plus was because of Carter Warren, offensive tackle out of Pittsburgh, getting him in the fourth round. You've got two guys there that are going to be able to fit right into that Jets offensive line. And I think where you're looking at is okay, you're thinking, why don't the Jets go, first round? You've got the 15th pick. You still got a lot of guys there. I mean, you could have gone with Cyrus Torrance. You could have traded down, even though Torrance went later on in the next few rounds. You could have got a Cyrus Torrance. You could have traded down, got an Anton Harrison out of Oklahoma. A lot of guys there. Cody Mock was still there. You could have gotten one of the better offensive linemen in the game. Why they went Will McDonald on the edge, I got no idea. That was another head scratcher. That was another, probably middle finger to Jets fans by the Jets front office on the Will McDonald pick. But they did bounce back with the Tippmann and Warren picks back to back in the second and the fourth round. So I think they knew they could probably get some good value in the second and later rounds when it comes to the offensive line. But the Giants, man, I can easily say, as much as the Giants need the offensive line help, they did get probably the best interior offensive lineman in the draft in John Michael Schmitz, and they got him in the second round. Where the Giants were drafting in the first round at 24, they could have gone Anton Harrison, which I think in my draft grades, that's probably where I figured they could have gone in the first round was Anton Harrison. But then you stop and think, okay, you've got the Eagles, man. You've got the Cowboys. You've got to be able to stop those offenses. So bolstering that secondary and getting a Deontay Banks out of Maryland with that first pick was massive for the Giants. I really totally understand why they went cornerback and didn't go offensive line. Praise the Giants on that. They were able to get John Michael Schmitz in the second round. Didn't get a whole lot of offensive linemen. In fact, I think Schmitz was the only offensive lineman they got in the draft. But nonetheless, the Giants still have a decent offensive line. They just need another one, and Schmitz is going to be the anchor for that offensive line for years and years to come, man. And I have no problems with the Giants offensive line. I think it's going to be a lot better than people are expecting this season.
Okay, yeah. Again, I was just curious what your thoughts were on both of those line situations. So it sounds like both teams covered it, but again, like going back to the Jets, I was surprised that they went with the edge over like an offensive lineman with the pick that they had. But I mean, that goes to show you that the importance of scouting, of seeing okay how far certain players are going to drop that are still very skilled in what they do in their position. So
And I totally agree, man. I mean, that's something that I'm like, okay, you just traded for Aaron Rodgers. You If it's me and I'm the Jets, I've got a good defense. I've got pretty good offense. I'm using my first three picks on offensive linemen, which they used two of them, but you could have got one of the better offensive linemen in the draft at 15.
yeah, see,
It,
that's what I thought too. I
it,
thought they were going to use that positioning.
so even if you're saying, okay, well, we don't want to draft him this high, trade down. I mean, you could have traded down. Okay, the Giants probably would have loved to trade down. I mean, traded up. Why? Because they go to 15. Yes, they get a Deontay Banks, but they would rather have a Christian Gonzalez or an Emmanuel Forbes. I mean, those are your top two cornerbacks. So why not give them a call? What what made Will McDonald that much more special that you had to take him at 15, where you could have got Will McDonald much later? You're right. It should have been offensive lineman for the Jets. And if you feel like you're paying too much of a price at 15 for one of those offensive linemen, trade down. Just trade down and get someone later while you're collecting assets. The Jets should have drafted offensive line for the first three picks, maybe even four picks. Everything else was just gravy after that for them. But yeah, I'm with you on that. The Jets really should have done a better job drafting the offensive line, getting it ready for Aaron Rodgers to come in. And it is what it is, man. You know, that's been done. But speaking of Rodgers' former team, dude, the Packers, they loaded up on this draft. They're one of my favorite teams in this draft, actually. They're 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 low key, as the kids say, as you kids say, low key one of my favorite um grades in this draft. And I'm actually giving them probably like I'm gonna give them an A minus on it, but they go out and get a Lucas Van Ness, another defensive anchor. And then the same thing in the first round, the 42nd, they get Lucas Musgrave, tight end. Definitely need that. Jaden Reed out of Michigan State's going to be a burner, dude. He's going to be good for them. They went and got back-to-back tight end. They got Tucker Kraft out of South Dakota State. The one guy that I really, really am excited for is Carrington. It's Carrington Valentine, cornerback out of Kentucky in the seventh round. You want to talk? They had a seventh round like nobody's business. Anthony Johnson, defensive back from Iowa State. Their last pick, Grant DeBose, out of wide receiver out of Charlotte. Chef's kiss. They literally loaded the wide receiver position in this draft for Jordan Love. It's going to be pretty good for Green Bay. It's just going to take a little bit of time on that. But nonetheless, I got to get into the Texas teams too. But you have any team on there where you probably looked at and thought, okay, this is a good draft. I like this draft. I like this team. I think they did good. If you got one team out there that you think, or maybe one team you thought just shit the bed, what do you think?
Oh man, well, you're gonna get into this team, being one of the Texas teams, but I thought the Texans slayed that first round of the draft. I thought they did really, really well.
Really, the
Mhm.
Texans?
Yeah, I thought
Oh
they got what
man.
they needed, but man, because I wasn't expecting that trade up, and then well, you're gonna talk about both of the Texas teams, so I'm getting ahead of myself here,
No, no,
but
you're perfectly fine, man. Because I know we got a few minutes left, so we're gonna get into Texas teams now.
mhm.
We're gonna go on your Houston Texans. Where you loved the Texans, I hated the Texans picks.
Really?
Yes.
All right. I want to hear this. I'm curious.
So okay, I get it. You need a QB. You definitely need a QB. But where CJ Stroud is compared to, well, you know what? F it. Let me ask you this. You answer me this. Are the Texans winning the Super Bowl next year?
No,
Are they making the playoffs next year?
they could. That division's not very good.
Are you serious? You think they have a chance to make the playoffs, even on a crappy Colt squad, knowing they have even Tennessee, who's not great?
Now, Tennessee's not making the playoffs next season.
But you're going to put them possibly over Jacksonville.
We don't know if Jacksonville's actually going to get better.
I I think they got better, but nonetheless, you think they might make the playoffs? Okay, you're one of the believers in the Houston Texans, where I'm not, but I say they're not. If you're not going to make the playoffs, then you're going to be back in the top of the draft. So why not roll with Davis Mills another year? Why not, if you're going to trade up to 3 again and have the second and third pick? Why don't you go with the Jalen Carter, Will Anderson duo to your defense? Like, just anchor the ever living shit out of your defense. Or, you know what? You want to get crazy? Grab another cornerback. You can go get a Devon Witherspoon or a Christian Gonzalez. Hell, I mean, Paris Johnson, somebody like that for your offensive line. Gear up and get ready for Drake May, for Caleb Williams, for a Bo Nix. Next year's quarterback draft class, Mark, is stupid good. As of right now, with the guys coming out, it is stupid good. So take the year off, Texans. You went and got CJ Stroud? Okay, great. You could have had a guy next year where CJ ranks next year is probably like third, fourth, maybe fourth. I mean, you've got guys coming out next year that if they were to come out this year, they would have been way ahead of these guys, like way ahead. Anthony Richardson would have been a later round pick. Will Levis probably would have gone in the third or fourth. I mean, that's why I did not like the Texans taking a quarterback at 2.
So you just didn't like the direction in general.
No, I think this draft, the key word for this draft, I think, was panic. You saw a lot of teams panic, and where the Texans took a quarterback, where you didn't need a quarterback. You're not going to win the Super Bowl. To me, you're not going to win very many games anyway. You're not going to win that many games anyway right now. Who's your main receiver? I mean, they got a decent receiving core, but again, it's kind of like, well, okay, what do we do? I mean, I didn't even care that they traded up to Will Anderson. I think if they would have stayed at 12, they would have been fine. Or wherever they were supposed to have been, they would have been fine there. It would have been perfect for them. They would have got some damn good value there.
Yeah. And the Houston Texans O-line was a priority. So I can see where they probably could have just gone Paris Johnson instead of CJ. So
Paris Johnson, let me go in this direction with you. Is Davis Mills a better quarterback with better protection? We don't know. Give him. You've seen David Mills' glimpse of some great game. He's had some really good games. He's led him to victory. But give that guy a chance to stand up and have a little more time in the pocket. Maybe he's better than what you think. So that's where I did not like the Texans. And honestly, I give them a C plus, maybe B minus on that entire draft. The best pick for them, I feel, Will Anderson, I'm not really sold on, but I get why they did it. I mean, probably outside of Jalen Carter, one of the top prospects, probably one or two top prospects in this entire draft. Xavier Hutchinson in the 6th round. I think that's going to be your wide receiver 1 eventually. Xavier Hutchinson was a beast at Iowa State. And I think Texan fans are going to love him once he gets going. So that was my rant on the Texans. Where you loved it, I did not. I think this draft was a bust for the Texans. I'm just saying it. It was a really big bust. They could have done so much. And when my draft grades come out for the Texans, I have a part where it says, what if? I wish I could just put, what if they just do the whole draft over again? But then again, I have to pick one player, and I think that one player surprisingly is going to be CJ Stroud at number 2. That's going to surprise a lot of people. But the Cowboys, man, we'll get into Cowboys talk because this will be our last one. Don't forget, Special Leaf Tea, man. Everybody go out, support Special Leaf Tea. Machismo Libre hot sauce. It's hot, just like the Dallas Cowboys on draft night. But you know what? It wasn't Blue Flame hot stats, where that's the hottest of hot, Blue Flame. I think it was like Sparkler hot. It was Sparkler hot. And I'm kind of back and forth on the grade that I gave the Cowboys. I'm not going to give you the grade of what I gave them. I want people to go out and read on the Substack here. But it wasn't an A. I'm going to teeter on it was a C to a B plus, maybe B, right around B. It was right in that range there. First off, your first thoughts on the Dallas Cowboys draft? Do you think it was a good one, or do you think it was bad?
I actually thought they were going to go with an O lineman, like in that first round.
Should have.
Just with yes, and we had talked about this on our last episode. We talked about the significance and importance of them, especially just retooling that line to protect Dak, because I'm telling you, Dak is going to be. I mean, he was under the spotlight already, but he's going to be under that spotlight even more next season because it's going to be all on his shoulders. I think that O-line's got to be able to protect him. They got to be able to run the ball. They already made some significant moves this offseason. As we talked about, getting Gilmore in there, that's a big deal for that defense. Someone to pair along with Diggs. But yeah, I was kind of surprised they didn't go for an O lineman in that first round. There were plenty of quality names there, and again, like we had talked about it, I thought that's what direction they were going in.
Anton Harrison was picked right after them. One of the best O linemen in the game, like in the draft, right there. You still had guys like Cody Mock. He didn't go to the second round to Tampa Bay of all places. Like, Jesus, why? There's so many guys that were there still that the Cowboys passed on. Osiris Torrance, the guy who literally is the inside protector of that offensive line, was there. John Michael Schmitz, the guy who I had been screaming for the Cowboys to take the entire pre-draft stuff. I'm like, you've got to take John Michael Schmitz. That is the guy, the main anchor for the Cowboys for years. He was that nasty center that was going to make sure that nobody effed with Dak. Didn't even think about it. They went Mozzie Smith, defensive tackle from Michigan, nose tackle to be exact. Why does everybody love that pick? Because he fills a void. He's gonna basically clog up the gaps. He's gonna clog up everything, make it tough for them in the run game. Cool.
I mean, that was an issue for them last season.
You're gonna stop the Commanders. Cool. I mean, you've got to be able to outscore these guys. The other teams. Mozzie Smith, you're gonna stop DeAndre Swift. Awesome. You're relying on your 2 cornerbacks to take that burden off, where you could have gotten, an offensive lineman. You could have got, even in the second round, man. I mean, they went in and got Luke Schoonmaker. Again, another one. And here's what's sad, man. You draft Anton Harrison in the first round. He goes right after you pick. What happened to the second round? Cowboys take Luke Schoonmaker. Oh, Buffalo says, oh, why thank you, Dallas. We'll take Osiris Torrance. Can you imagine an offensive line with Harrison and Torrance? That is 2 manly men there, to where Dak would feel like as safe as, a baby being protected by all of its guard dogs. Like, no one would touch Dak in that case. That is so surprising to me. But again, Cowboy fans love their defensive pick. Michael Parsons, celebrated on draft night because it was a fantastic pick and it helps him on the defensive end. Good luck, Dak. That's all I can say. I will say this. Asim Richards, offensive lineman from North Carolina, drafted in the 5th round. That was, for me, their best value pick. Versatile guy. I fully expected, the Cowboys have had some injuries on the offensive line lately in the season. Asim Richards could definitely step in and become a starter and remain a starter. So they did do one good thing right. They did do a couple of good things in the draft. I'm not going to give you all the details on that. Do have their draft grade coming up on the Substack, which again will be released today or tomorrow, actually. So be sure to check that out. But nonetheless, great draft night. A lot of head scratchers in this draft. Makes guys like me feel like, what the hell did we do all these mock drafts and research for you bastards not to just listen to us because we know everything, right? I will say this. Deuce Vaughn is a perfect compliment for the Cowboys. I do like that. I really like that pick. That was a really good pick by them, by the way. So you got anything left in the draft, man, or are we done for tonight?
No, I think we drafted out, man. I think we're all drafted out.
We're drafted out. Yeah. I'm going for the Mel Kiper look with my hair. I'm hoping that ESPN will give me Mel's job in the next couple of years. Wouldn't be nice.
Rudy Kiper Jr.
Rudy Kiper Jr. I mean, I can't even do the voice, Mozzie Smith at 6'10", 544 pounds. I mean, total lineman. I can't, he's so fast. I cannot do the Mel Kiper.
Oh, yeah, you're gonna have to practice that Mel Kiper impression. I think you can do it at one day.
Do you think we can do a short, maybe a Mel Kiper short recording, and I'll try to do that,
Yeah. We could do the famous soundbite. Who the hell is Mel Kiper anyway?
You can do that. Like, who the hell is Rudy Kiper? I mean,
who the hell is this Rudy Kiper?
I can try it. I can try it real quick now. We'll use Javon Dexter out of Florida. He was drafted by the Bears. So, Bears picking, 53. They take Javon Dexter. Mel, what do you got? What you got is 6'6", 310-pound guy out of Florida, Javon Dexter, number 7 on my rankings. Really good guy. I mean, we're talking about Chicago here. They're going to need a run defender, and he's definitely the guy coming out of Florida. Number 7 on my position rankings. Really good player. Did I nail it? Did I nail it?
Pretty solid. You might want to go a little bit faster.
It has to be faster. Bit. You're probably too young, but it's probably like the Micro Machines guy. I don't know if you ever did the Mini Micro Machines guy. Like, hey, Mini Micro Machines. I was like, holy shit, this guy's fast. If you haven't seen it, you need to look it up on YouTube.
I think I
look up Mini Micro Machine commercial, and you'll definitely. If I can go that fast, and you know what, we're gonna stop the podcast, and I'm gonna go into a whole new type of broadcasting and stuff. But we're gonna do the short, man. We got to do the Mel Kiper short. See if I can get it. I can get my hair that puffy. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to try.
We'll record that short soon.
Oh, God. This is going to be awesome. And if Kiper likes it, maybe we can do a Kiper on Kiper type thing or something like that. But until then, man, you know what? Draft grades are coming out on the Substack. Again, please subscribe to it. Substack at sweeptheleague.substack.com. For stats, it's Rudy Campos Jr. Until we sweep the league again next week. We'll see you guys soon.
Oh, yeah.